Right.
Because you just don't take things for granted. You know, you're always grateful when something does come.
You need the pain.
Ian, David, and Quinn started out to make a $50 million movie based on Ian's book, TJ's War. Mark, Sia, and Sincera soon jumped on board, and then Mr. Z joined the team, a mysterious executive producer who said, "Stop, this is no movie. This is a 2-season, 20-episode TV show. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series."
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of 2025, and it's a changed title now. We're going to make a $50 million TV series. Actually, by the time this comes out, I think there's going to be 2 episodes before this one. So it might be the 3rd episode. There we are. And look who we have today. Welcome to Sammy Seager. Sammy, it's Samantha. Can I call you Sammy?
You can call me Sammy. That's I'm officially Samantha, but I only really get called that when I'm in trouble. So you can call me Sammy.
Sammy is an incredibly talented actress, producer, and now certified yoga teacher.
Yeah.
You might recognize her as Jodie Morton from Coronation Street, or as Bobby the bus cleaner from the beloved CBB series, Me Too. But Samantha's career spans far beyond this. She graced the stage in hit productions like Invincible, narrated shows like Eat Well for Less, and stepped into the world of film production. In fact, she's the executive producer of Invincible, which is set to hit the big screen this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And now she's embracing an exciting new chapter in her journey as a yoga teacher. We'll be diving into her experiences on TV, her work behind the scenes, and what led to this latest passion. So sit back and enjoy this fascinating conversation with Samantha Seager, myself, and hopefully David Blair, who is traveling somewhere and can't get mobile signal to save his life. Samantha.
Always the way, isn't it?
Sammy, welcome.
Thank you so much for asking me. I'm so chuffed to be here.
Well, no, it's our pleasure. It's great. Now, I've said all this stuff, but I really want to focus for the start of this on Invincible, this film that's you've just put in the can.
Yes.
And I mean, this is exactly what we want to do. TV series because it's too long for a film. But how did you go about this?
Well, so during the pandemic, when everything was shut down, I was at the time in a West End musical. I was in Only Fools and Horses, the musical, which got, like everything else in the West End, was shut down. And after we'd been sort of closed for about 8 months, I started to think, flipping heck, we might never, ever go back. Like, who knows what's going on? And at the time, sort of trying to find creative and fun things to do with people in the circumstances of the lockdown. A few of us, like actor friends, director friends, were getting together and reading scripts, you know, in people's living rooms with the windows open, you know, like wearing masks and all this sort of stuff. And one of the scripts that we were reading was Invincible, which is a stage play. And I was lucky enough to be in the original production of this play, which is a brilliant story. It's a four-hander, all set in one room over the summer of 2012 against the backdrop of the Afghanistan conflict and the Queen's Jubilee and the Olympics. So it was kind of felt like quite a moment in British history. And the play itself, I always loved it. It was one of my favourite jobs ever. And it's about neighbours. And I don't know, a few of the things that were resonating that were happening during the sort of lockdown and the pandemic were sort of resonating with this play that I'd been in. And also the fact that it's 4 people in one room. I started to think, actually, this could be a good time to make this into a film. Like, why not? Like, we've got nothing better to do. I contacted the writer, Torben. I just was like, why not? Then sort of that you know, these ideas of thinking like, why are we waiting? We're all sitting around waiting for something to happen, but why not make something happen ourselves? And so I approached the writer, Torben, and I was like, you know, how would you feel about adapting your play for screen? And he was like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. And so, yeah, Torben adapted it for the screen. I then contacted the original cast and got on board a dear friend of mine, Emma, who has been an actress for many years, but who was embarking on becoming a director and a filmmaker. And so, you know, she lived around the corner from me. So it was very much like a sort of a community project. But, you know, we just took over my house for a month in June 2021. And Emma pulled together an amazing creative team of, you know, brilliant cinematographer called Ariel Artur. And yeah, we just filmed it in my house, in my living room over the summer of 2021, June 2021. And we, well, crowdfunded to raise the funds so that we could pay everybody properly. And, you know, yeah, we just set about doing it. And it's taken us 3.5 years. Like, we've only literally just got it in the can, but it's been a labor of love. You know, some of us have worked for, you know, we've done it just because we want to make it. So there are some people who've given their services for free, but, you know, as much as we can, we've paid everybody, and we've now got it in the can and it's finished.
Fantastic. Had your writer, well, the writer of the play,
yeah,
he's written a lot of plays?
His name is Torben Betts. He's written a number of plays, and he's also written a film as well called Downhill. So he was already a little bit in the film world, and Torben's in it as well. Torben confessed that he originally wrote the part that he plays in it, Oliver, for himself. And he was like, I'll give you the rights, but I would like to make a suggestion to play this character. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, me. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, why not? Because I can see that he would be perfect casting for it. So it's his first. He did train as an actor many, many years ago, but he hasn't worked as an actor since then. He's focused on his writing. He's a fantastic writer. He's also a bloody brilliant actor.
Right.
So he plays Oliver in our film.
That's interesting, because one of the things that, or the reason I'm asking, digging into this, is that one of the directions that we're being told to go down is to identify a scriptwriter for the TV series who's a recognized name as a scriptwriter.
Right.
Because this will help to gain the funds to make this sort of thing. You didn't have to do that. Torben's are already a recognized playwright. And presumably a script writing is not terribly different from writing a play, or is it?
Well, I think it is a little bit. I mean, that's one of the things that was an interesting process, because he's a very detailed writer, and he's political, and the themes that are very resonant within the play and the film. You know, he's a really sophisticated writer. So I think it was a challenge to adapt it for screen, like any play. When you adapt it for screen, you need to kind of cut a lot of it out, because, you know, film is a completely different medium, and you can't be so wordy. You have to use more visual description of how you're getting your metaphors across and things like that. So, yeah, but we got there. You know, we got there in the end.
So, and what's the film about? Because you said you made it because you didn't have anything else better to do, but I really don't believe that. I think.
Oh no, I mean, I love the story.
Yes,
I think it's my favorite piece that I've ever been in. It's about, okay, what's it about? It's like, it's Mike Leigh-esque in its essence, but it's also has similar veins of something like Carnage, which is that, you know, when something's all set in one room, and so, you know, tensions really build. It's about relationships, and it's about neighbours. The synopsis is: Emily and Oliver, a left-leaning couple from London, decide to relocate to the north of England because, firstly, they're under a lot of financial pressure, but also Emily is Marxist and very into sort of the ideas of community living, and she wants to live amongst what she terms real people. And so they move up north, and the film takes place over 3 nights over the summer of 2012. The original night is them meeting up and gathering and getting to know each other, and the rest of the film evolves as their relationships evolve, and you see what happens. Themes within it: art, football, is set against the backdrop of the Euros as well, and war. War is quite a significant theme within it, but that develops more as the film goes on. So, and it's also very much about women. It's done from a female perspective, and it covers issues such as sudden infant death syndrome, loss of children, women maturing, coming into their later years in life. It's got a lot. It's got a lot in it.
Fantastic. Yeah. I was talking about Sincera just before we came on to this. And where do you start with women? I mean, we've all got mothers. So men are much more supportive of women than I think women realize. I think there are some idiots out there, and men should really stop these idiots from having an influence or an impact on women at all. And that's where men let women down, I think. But we really do support women. And I've got to make a mention of Sincera, because he's just worked with another friend of the podcast, Raquel Flores, and the two of them together produced this book, which is all about empowerment for women. And I think women on their own can be very powerful, but with men's help, they can be even more powerful. And
I
so,
agree.
yeah, we're for you.
I believe that. I don't have any doubt about that. I think we're always good when everyone's always better in collaboration. You know, we're not meant to be islands, are we? We complement each other.
Yeah, and TJ's war, if we just give it a mention for a second, really, that's the question we're asking. Why the hell are people going to war? Much more can be achieved if we all work together. And it's a crazy world out there where we allow idiots to put people who don't know each other against each other's throats. It's madness.
Well, and that's a real key theme within the story of the film. Exactly that. Emily, the woman from London who moves up north, like, she really wants to engage, like, in these discussions like we're having now. Like, why is this happening? What's going on in the world? Why are big corporate companies sending people off to wars and lining the pockets of billionaires? But no one else really wants to talk about it. Like, everyone else is sort of, you know, just wants to have quite banal, kind of low-key conversations, but that's part of the story. Emily is sort of really is a catalyst for change for the character that I play, which is Dawn, who has never really met anybody like this before, who really gets her to question her thinking and her role as a woman, as a mother, what she's doing with her life, her relationship with her husband, and these things. Yeah, it's the catalyst for some really huge changes in all of their lives. But it's having those kind of, not necessarily difficult conversations, but those interesting, challenging, you know, like, let's question things, like what the F is going on at the moment. And not just at the moment, has been since time immemorial, really.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think when people say there's going to be a war, everyone accepts it because there's always been war. And we need to ask those questions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, we could have a real rant.
Without giving too much of a spoiler away, you do see the impact of the Afghanistan conflict come very much through to the fore for the characters. And yeah. We
won't give spoilers on either side on that one, but yes, I can.
Let's not do any spoilers.
So the actual process of making Invincible, you're acting in it, you're executive producer. Were you directing?
No. So Emma, my long-time friend, she came on board as director, producer, exec producer, also production designer. Right. We had to do, I was also location manager and caterer at times. You know, it was one of those things where we all just had to pull together and make it work. So Emma's done an amazing job. You know, this is her first feature film. She's made short films before, but she's she's done a fantastic job. And not only that, she's pulled together a really amazing post-production team as well. So the sound design on our film is something I'm blown away by, and also the music as well. We have Eva Abraham and Lol Hammond, Lol Hammond's really kind of quite a big music supervisor and composer now. And the music on the film, I mean, it's just stunning. I'm so proud of it, and I'm so, you know, delighted that Emma managed to kind of, you know, get these amazing people on board with our film. But they watched it and they loved it, and so yeah, I feel really chuffed and proud of those elements and all of it. Everybody that's worked on it, we managed to pull together a really cracking team.
I can see you're really proud of it. It's fantastic. The creative process is just so rewarding when it comes together like that.
Yeah.
Tell me about, what does an executive producer do?
Well, that's a really good question, and one that I had no idea before I started to do it. And I remember when I gave the script to Emma, she said to me, okay. She went, I'm up for doing this. She went, but you're going to have to produce it and you're going to have to raise all the money. And I was like, yeah, I'll do all of those things. But I've never produced anything. Well, that's not true. I did produce a play about 10 years ago, like a fringe thing. So I have a little idea, but not really. And exec producing, again, is something slightly different. Producing is the nuts and bolts of just making everything happen. But the executive producing, from my understanding, is about raising the money and being the sort of overseeing the direction of everything and making sure that, you know, you're pulling together the right teams, resources, and the overarching vision of what you're making. So Emma and I exec produced, but also Paul Whitehouse, who I'd been working with on Only Fools and Horses, got behind the project, and he exec produced as well. And also an old pal of mine who saw the crowdfunder and just wanted to back it and give us a little chunk of money. Well, quite a big chunk of money, actually. So it's about money and finance.
Okay. So that's 4 bosses from what you're describing there. So how do you all work together to not step, or did you step on each other's toes?
It was myself and Emma who were the driving force of everything. Paul supported us not emotionally, financially, and also, you know, as a friend. And Stephen, again, he gave us some money, but because he gave us quite a large chunk of money, he gets the credit of executive producer. So.
Okay, but they then just hand over the money and trust you to make sure it doesn't get wasted on parties every night.
In this situation, that's what happened. But I mean, I'm not sure in other scenarios how people would define that role of exec producer. But from our project, that was how it worked.
Yeah, and you hadn't done this before, so how did you find looking after the finance part of this?
A challenge, really. I'm not a natural administrator. I'm an actor, and I'm not bad with money or anything. I'm quite good with money, but you know, that's it's quite a different sort of skill set to have. And also, it's not in my natural. I'm not like a boss. I'm not like a boss person, someone who kind of leads teams or things like that. So it was stepping into a whole new world for me, and one, I really enjoyed it, but it's got its challenges as well. At times, I think Emma and I both probably wanted to give it all up. It just felt like it was too hard. We ran out of money a couple of times and had to keep going back and doing more crowdfunding, and sort of feeling like, oh gosh, our friends and family are going to start getting really cheesed off with us if we haven't finished this blooming thing and we keep asking for more money. But the reality is that making films, making art, it costs a lot of money, especially if you want to pay people for their work.
In a previous life, I used to have a company, and I promised I would never employ anybody ever again after this. I employed 23 people, and keep creating their salaries, their monthly pay, used to keep me awake for hours every night.
Yeah.
Did you have people who got regular salaries, or was it paying for a particular function to be done, and then they might have to wait for the next job to come along?
Very much the latter of how you just described it. When we did the original filming, which took 4 weeks, prior to that, I did a crowdfund, and we managed to raise like quite a big chunk of money, enough to pay everybody, not everybody, enough to pay pretty much everybody for their time, and to feed everybody and look after them like you would on it was a proper film shoot, but like, you know, to do it properly and professionally, and insurance and all those things. And then after that, it was a case of like, right, we've just got to keep going until we run out of money. So we'd, you know, do things like, you know, we'd pay out for the grading, and we'd need a chunk of money to pay for that. And then the different people that come on in post-production as well, we'd have to pay them as well. So we just had to do it as we went along, really.
And I suppose the film industry expects that. The people who work in the film industry expect to be paid piecemeal. They might have several weeks between different parts of working on a particular project.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm as an actor who's worked in this industry for many years, you know, you normally you rock up, you do your job, and then you get paid a bit later on, and that's that. We've been lucky because of the way that our funds have been, and having to sort of do it as we go along. that we've had really patient and people that care about the project enough to do the work, knowing that they will get their money at some point. And we have managed to pay everybody except one person who's done amazing work, and he will get paid at some point. But in the most part, we have managed to pay everyone except ourselves, me and Emma. But we did it for the love, so we
You'll
don't
get
care.
your reward in heaven. But I do think it's I think I've met a lot of artists especially through this process, and my hat comes off to you all, because you're doing it for the love of art. I could not exist the way you exist. Most people couldn't, because they need a regular income. And you guys just throw yourselves at the universe and hope that you get looked after. And I just think it's amazing.
Do you know what? It's interesting. I was chatting with someone about this recently. I actually really enjoy living more like that. I think myself and a lot of actors to kind of really thrive in that space of like the unknown a little bit sometimes, and just having to trust that something will always come good when it needs to, because it also makes you more resourceful and more resilient as a human being. I mean, obviously sometimes you just want the security, and it's great when you get a regular job and you're like, oh, I can just relax for a bit. But I know for myself, maybe this is just the way I've reconciled it so that I don't go mad, but I think it's a good place to be in life. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you resourceful, and keeps you grateful.
Right.
Because you just don't take things for granted. You're always grateful when something does come.
You need the pain. So, we are a fledgling outfit. I mean, you're at the other end of this process. Well, you're not. I actually, we'll talk about distribution in a minute, because we were talking off camera for a couple of minutes before this, and I thought that was very interesting. But we're right at the beginning of all this, whereas you've come a long way through it.
Yeah.
What are the tiger traps? What are the dead ends that we should? That you any advice you can give us on this would be gratefully received.
I think you're from what I've seen of how you're developing your project, I actually think you've been so much more thorough than anything that we did. I mean, we literally had an idea and just did it with quite little preparation and things like that. So we made tons of mistakes, which I don't see, it's hard to even pinpoint a couple of things. It just kind of all rolled along and happened, but it's that thing of just trusting. So I think if you're, it seems like you're covering all your bases in advance. You're getting people on board. You've got the interest already. Like, we've done it without having anything to even know where it's going to go or anything like that. So, what are the pitfalls? And what can I say that's useful? I think having money there is really essential, really, so that you don't start something off and then end up like we did, having to wait months to be able to do the next bit of it, because that can be a little bit soul destroying, because you're like, oh gosh, we've done all this work so far and we don't know that we can even finish it. So I think that's something that I would highlight, is like get your budget and money there up front, and also just be prepared for things to be able to adapt and change when things might not work out as you want them to, or things like that.
All right. Yeah, change is a big one. Previous life, it's always plan for change. Expect change to come along. You don't know where it's going to come along. It can be from almost any direction. And if you think it's going to be from this direction, it'll be from that one over there. It's always So plan for change.
Yeah.
Okay. We're coming. Would you believe we're coming close to the end of this recording already? Time just flashes past, and it's been a real joy. Anything you want to say in terms of the film, or what are you going to be doing next? And we haven't covered distribution. We have to talk about distribution as well. But what's your next big
Well,
thing?
our sort of next steps now are film festivals. So we have entered it into numerous film festivals, and we've already won a couple of awards. We've won Best Actress and Best First Time Feature Director at the Berlin Indie Film Festival, and we've also been selected for another one, which I can't officially say yet because we've not got the official thing, but we have been selected for another one. It's a women's festival out in America. So we're still waiting to hear back from lots of festivals and hoping we're going to get some selections and possibly win some more awards. You never know. And so depending on how that goes, then the steps are to, start speaking to distributors and, ideally we'd love to get a nationwide cinema release and take it on tour around the UK. That would be a win. We're also premiering at the Scarborough Film Festival in March. We're going to be screening there. And yeah, it's just getting it out there in front of an audience, and we'd love to sell it and get a good streaming.
Okay. In terms of getting into screens around the country, how do you do that? Who opens the door for that?
Well, again, it's a learning curve for us. We don't know. Like we just going to put it out there and see what happens, and just trust. We've already, it's going to be at Scarborough Film Festival, so it's just one of those things. You just have to keep plugging away at it, sharing it wherever we can, and the response that we get to it is, people seem to really like it. So I feel like it just takes one person to see it who has the potential to really help us, and it will happen. And even if it doesn't, I'm still really delighted that we've made it. And
Sure.
But it is important to get an audience for it, because as we just discussed earlier, the messages in it, I just feel like they're really important.
Yeah,
So,
it's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
Sammy, thank you so much. It's been
My
a
pleasure.
real pleasure talking to you today, and I wish you every success with this. And you never know, maybe somebody watching this podcast just happens to own a cinema chain, or knows somebody who owns a cinema chain. Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe now it's a film, so surely it's just pass it to them, to Cineworld or View or whoever. And
exactly. You just never know. You've got to believe in what you're doing and see what happens. And also wishing you the very best as well. The best of luck with what you're bringing through. Like, it's so exciting. And I was, really looking forward to chatting with you and hearing more about how it's going for you. So, yeah.
We'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you so much, Sammy. Have a great
My pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck with the yoga.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's the whole thing I'm doing. I've got another project that I'm building in Wales at the moment. So the yoga is part of that. So we'll see what happens.
All right. You've got 10 seconds. What should people do if they want to go to get yoga from you?
Well, I am setting up an event and retreat space in rural West Wales. I bought this place a couple of years ago. I've been developing it and doing it up. And it's a space, like a hub, that supports health, creativity and well-being. So it will be a place for writers to come who want to get away from everything and have that, week or 2 weeks to just really nail down their projects or their writing. People can come and really sort their health out, go swimming in the sea, go for walks. I'll do some yoga with them as well. And it's a beautiful place where people can just come and rest, reconnect with themselves. But also I really want creative projects to flourish there. So
women only or men and women?
Oh, anyone can come.
Anyone? Oh, I might be there.
Yeah. Anyone can come.
And how did they get in touch with you?
Gosh, how do people get in touch with me? My email address is samantha.seager@outlook.com, and I'm on Instagram is another good place to get me. Samantha Seager 111.
Fantastic. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com. And to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series.